Hello everyone, Chess Hoodie here. So a few days ago, there was a sad news for the chess world. The world's oldest living grandmaster, Yuri Averbakh, passed away at the age of 100. So let's talk about his life a little bit. Let's imagine what this man has been through. So he was born in 1922, just a few years after the October Revolution, when the political system in that part of the world was changed. So it was an empire and it became a republic, a communist republic. And then he also was a contemporary of the World War II. He's been through that um, horrific historical event. He was he still hadn't finished school at the time, so there was some rule that he couldn't join uh, the fighting forces. He was involved in some uh, other logistical role in the World War II, but his father died at the front. His father died in fighting against Nazis, and then after World War II, he had some golden period where he competed with top players. He played in the candidates tournament 1953. He had a positive score against some world champions. I think against Tal, he had 8-0 plus a draw or something like that. So that's impressive to destroy Mikhail Tal like that. Later, he had some important position. He was an arbiter and also he was a president of some chess organization or something in Russia or Soviet Union. And also he wrote many books, and those were some special books. It's a legacy. Comprehensive chess endings, 5 books. I actually used to have them. Then I gave them away when I quit chess one time. But okay, so he wrote many beautiful chess books, and let's reminiscent. So imagine he was born in the times of Lenin. Then he survived the times of Stalin. Then he survived the invasion of Hitler, right? And then, as I said, there was a golden period, and then he lived for so long, and he actually saw the times of internet and AI and all these new technologies. He even survived the pandemic or pandemic, if you will, and at the end of his life, he had to be a witness of a war because he lived in Ukraine, even though he was Russian. That's where he lived in Ukraine, and his mother was Russian and his father was of German origin, I think. But towards the end of his life, he even had to witness this horrible war that is going on right now. So I don't know. I somehow think he could have lived longer, maybe, but maybe seeing what is happening around him, maybe he just decided to give up. But who knows? Maybe it was not related to the war. Anyway, an amazing man with amazing life. So many things. Like it looks like he has lived several lives. From Lenin to Stalin, fighting against Hitler. I mean, his country was fighting, and then all the good things in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on. And yeah, let's also. I want to show you some chess when we are talking about this legend. So I haven't seen many of his games, but this is one of the games that made a big impression on me. It is from 1953 Candidates Tournament. Averbakh was black here and white was Najdorf. And I saw this game maybe 5 years ago and I learned a lot from it. I will join the game from this position. Najdorf was on the move and he played bishop d2, which was a mistake. He should have preserved this knight. So the correct move was knight d3, attacking the pawn. and when black defense, just trying to organize the defense. It's important to preserve this knight. He holds the position. But Najdorf didn't appreciate it, so he went bishop d2, and now after knight c4, attacking the bishop, bishop a1, an excellent move. Bishop takes b4, and after cb4, it is black who controls the c file, and white has a problem with this bishop and the pawns, his own pawns restricting his bishop. Also, don't forget that the knight is very strong. It can do a lot of damage. Now we see a nice maneuver. Knight a3, rook b3, knight b5, attacking here, e3, rook c2. So the knight made a little tour and allowed his rook to come in with a tempo. a4, knight d6. So he will come back eventually here. Not so quickly, but it will happen. Now, bad move by white, because after a5, b5, uh, there will be zero chances for white to fight for any counterplay. But let's observe what happened. Rook c3, rook c8, exchange, exchanged. And who is the master of the c file? Black, of course. You cannot untangle from here. f3, knight e7, bishop f2, king f7. And now what is important is not to go after this pawn too soon. Because if you do that, white will achieve his dream. And okay, he cannot go there, but doesn't matter. Somewhere to do something. So you don't let him do it. So this is what I learned from this game 5 years ago. Because in the past, I would capture the file, go after the pawn, then my opponent takes the file and starts counterplay. And I was like, where did I go wrong? But this is the essence. Just improve your position first, and then at the right moment, when the opponent has no chances of taking advantage of the open file, then abandon the file. So let's observe. Rook b1, knight f5, king f1, knight d6. You see, the knight is coming back. Rook b3, knight c4, king g2. And now, watch this. After f5, white is in Zugzwang. Can you believe it? So many pieces and pawns, and he is in Zugzwang. If he pushes this pawn, then we will use the e4 square. Knight d2, attacking the rook. Rook moves. Knight e4, we win the bishop. So white cannot move the f pawn. If he moves the rook along the third rank, for example, rook d3, then we can capture the pawn because our knight is blocking the c file, so white cannot use it. So you see how he was smart, how he did it. Excellent technique. If the king moves, then the f3 pawn is loose, so knight d2 is a double attack, and we win the game in that manner. That's why, actually, it's a Zugzwang. There is no move. You can move the pawn, but black can just wait. And you will run out of moves. There is no way to save material anymore. So he went rook b1, but now rook is not protecting e3, so Averbakh just took on e3. King g1, and now an excellent move, f4, shattering white's pawn structure. Gf4, knight f5, look at all these weaknesses. They're all weak, it's just a matter of time. King f1, now another excellent move, g6, first blocking this pawn, and then the plan is very simple. You go with your king to this square. From there, you control all important entry points, and only then do you go for these pawns, one of these pawns, because then when you capture one of the pawns, white rook cannot penetrate. So let's see, rook b3, king e7. I told you we're going here. Rook b1, king d7, and now we are ready to attack two pawns, and one of them will definitely drop, and that's going to be too many pawns that have dropped. I hope you. So this was the game that I really learned a lot from. It looks like nothing much, but actually, in my opinion, the way Averbach realized his positional advantage is a masterpiece. And I learned that valuable lesson, not to, when you conquer a file, not to try to extract something from it too soon, if it's possible, of course, but preparation is the key. All right. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the story, a short story about legend Yuri Averbakh. May he rest in peace. Goodbye. See you again.